Well, hello, it's Christine, and welcome to this latest episode of Building with Claude Code as we get a chance to walk through some of the features as we build a subscription management web application. And in the previous episode, we got started with the back end and we got the initial setup good and going. And we are now actually going to go into the next step. Here we're going to be creating the API endpoints for the backend server. I want to do something slightly different and try it out. So I'm a big proponent of test-driven development, though I don't use it as much as I should. But for the API implementation portion of this, I'm going to try to use that. So I'm going to work with Claude Code to see if we can get TDD going. And where we left off, it had actually committed all the code, it had set up the NestJS structure, and it now knows that it's ready for the API endpoints. So I am going to go ahead and do that. Let me just clear so we can kind of like start afresh. And then the other thing I'm going to do is similar to what I'd done previously. I'm also going to update CLAUDE.md just to make it know that I also have backend where it can find all of the npm commands. As I get before, it's always a good idea to keep your Claude up to date with what you're trying to do. So we are back at here. So I am going to now start, and I'm going to give it a bunch of text, and we are going to see what we want to do. So paste it in here. So for the implementation of this piece, said I would like to use test-driven development. I wanted to write tests based on expected input-output. I don't want it to create any mock implementations because we want to actually create real code. And so I'm going to use this TD flow, which is usually you write a test that fails, and then you write the implementation so that the test passes, and then actually just repeat it again and again. So here is the code, and fingers crossed we will get going. At this point, it's probably going to know that it's going to be looking at the back end. I should have just told it where the backend code is, but it knows how to find it. All right, so it's looking at the schema. This is where it's trying to kind of set up the test. But I wanted to actually write the test. Okay, so it's creating that schema for that file. Okay, let's go ahead and say, yeah. All right, so then it's going to be writing tests for the subscription controller endpoint after it's set up the schema, and hopefully it will then see that it fails. Gotcha. So it's written it actually wrote all of the tests. It's got this mock subscription service, which is kind of like not what I wanted. Mock resolve value, subscription service, create, find all. Okay. All right, let's say yes. I'm just going to make sure. Are you sure this test will initially fail? I'm just going to make sure that it is adhering to what I'd asked it to do, because I want to make sure that the test fails and then it implements it one by one. You're right, I was planning to write both the test and the implementation at once, but it's not following the TDD approach. Okay, thank you for noticing that. And so it's going to then do the spec for sync, testing module, create module. All right, so this is for creating the subscription. So let's say yes. Now let's run the test. So it's running the test, and it's just going to run the one related to subscriptions. So hopefully this will fail. And it says, okay, fail, test suite failed to run. and that's because it can't find the module because it hasn't been actually set up yet. So now it's setting up the actual file, so gotcha. So do I want to create the service as well? Yeah, let's create the service as well. This is for creating the actual endpoint. And then you also have to set up the module, again, part of the way the NestJS framework is set up. Now you should run the test again. It should fail. And the test passed, so that's actually showing you a successful implementation of that. And now, so now it's moved on to the next endpoint. And I'll say yes. And I might just tell it, don't ask me again during this session. And yeah, I'll say, don't ask me about this so that it can actually run this through without me actually going in. Okay. So it's failing as expected, and it's going to now create that find all query. And I'll say, yeah, don't ask me again in this session so that it can continue kind of like working through and cycling through it. So that's basically TDD in action, or test-driven development in action, as it goes through and makes the edits to the file, run the test again, now that it's passed, and then cycle through with some of the other endpoints that it needs to do. So as it's going through, this is going to be like a fun time. So I'll just come back when it's actually gone to the endpoints and completed the whole TDD process. But I like the way it's thinking. I like the fact that it's following the process, and this is just a good way to get Claude to better develop what you want it to do. So we'll be back when this is all complete so we can see the final output. All right, so it has gone through and checked through one by one so that we know that all of the tests are passing. This is pretty cool. I like the way it's going as it continues to go through this TDD flow. Looks like it's actually gone in and set up all of the tests, and now it's just wiring the subscription module and running through all of the tests just to make sure it's working. Auth service, please make sure is available. So hopefully it fixes that as well. Okay, now it's going to run the test that it's been implemented. This might be one it's stuck at. I'll just let it continue working on this. I trust you, Claude, I trust you. I wanted to kind of come back. It was kind of like a little bit of a heavy lift as it went through and run all of these different tests. And as you can see at the bottom left corner, it's saying that there's only a little bit of time of context left. So we're at 34% until it needs to auto compact, and it just lets me know that we have been churning and doing quite a lot. So we can see usually at this point you can potentially just stop it and maybe just clear or run compact yourself with what you need. But in this case, I think I'm almost done with this particular step, so I might be actually clearing everything and starting again soon anyway. But it's always a good idea to keep an eye on the auto compact and just clear. So I'll just quickly take a look at the backend, and it's actually added a database module, some initialization file, and kind of filled out the files that we talked about. So there are some linter errors that I'm probably going to go back and ask it to fix. And let me just do that right away. All right, so I'm just going to ask Claude to just run the linter and format and resolve any errors, because we want to make sure everything is clean. You should be able to find those just by running lint, etc. So yep, don't ask again. Why not? Go ahead and go for it, and hopefully it goes in and it fixes a whole bunch of stuff in there, and I can see it already checking that as well, running the type checker as well. Make sure those problems all go away and we should be good. What is the run script? I don't have a run script, but we'll figure that one out. Okay, run the formatter. Fixes that. Okay, so it's going to fix the linter errors, and we should be clean in a little bit and get this thing out the door and get the backend cleaned up and checked in. Well, it went out and fixed the linter errors, and it fixed the TypeScript errors, and all the linting issues are been fixed, and the tests have all passed, which is a good reason for why you should have tests. And I think we're all happy and good to go. So we have got into a good spot. We've actually just added the APIs, and in the next episode we're going to just go ahead and start testing those APIs. So hope you join me in the next episode as we continue building with Claude Code.